And now I really want to invite one, also an exceptional person. I'm extremely happy that you, Lene, found time to be with us.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
And Lene is a writer, philosopher, futurist. And when we were talking about the presentation, it was really challenging to me because Lene was saying, you decide, you create a title, you discuss, what would you like to do? I was thinking, oh, that's so great. It means that this is an enormous resource. You just can have a wish and the wish may come out. So, of course, but I asked Lene to lift us up, to show us the future, really to touch the future, to understand where we are going with these challenges, with these steps, with these changes that we are facing, and that it helps us to understand that it's not one more project, that this is something different. This is a step towards the future. I hope so. So thank you, Lene.
Well, thank you. How much time do we have? When do we have to conclude? Or
no, we've decided, the whole audience agreed that today we have 25 hours day. So Lene, please don't limit yourself. Everyone
Excellent.
is free to step in, to step out. We have live translation.
Yeah. I will do my best to keep it short, but it was just, I was looking at the time schedule that I got. But anyway, thank you for inviting me. I have been looking very much forward to giving this presentation. I've listened to the four previous presenters, and I think it's been a really wonderful afternoon. So thank you also for letting me join you as a listener. So I'm going to talk about the future and what kind of education we need for that, not just children, but actually all of us. And so I'm going to talk about a phenomenon that is called Bildung in German, and it does not have a word in English. So in English, it is also called Bildung. I'm going to start with the Greek word, though, which is the word school, and the word another word named pedagogue, because the interesting thing is that in classical Greek, so 2,300 years ago, the pedagogue was the person who took the child to the learning place, and the school was considered the free time, the spare time, the time when you do not work, but when you enjoy yourself learning stuff. And at least one of the previous speakers was touching upon learning as something that must be a pleasure. And I think it's really sad that we have managed to create schools that destroy the pleasure of learning for so many people. So we can do a lot better. What is Bildung? Well, the easy way to describe it is that it is two kinds of understanding, of learning, and we're going to need a lot of that, not just now, but especially in the future. One part of this learning is all the knowledge that is relatively easy to transfer from person to person. So that can be math, it can be science, it can be, learning another language, the French verbs, the German verbs, any kind of, learning new things. It can also be how to fix a bicycle or how to bake a bread or something. It's relatively easy to teach that to other people. And so we can expand our horizon with this kind of knowledge that is easily transferable to other people. And so we can call it the horizontal kind of knowledge, and we can, go out in many, many directions and expand our horizon. The other kind of knowledge or understanding is really, really hard to transfer from person to person, which we can call the vertical kind of understanding or knowledge, which is our emotional development, our emotional roots and depth. Can be our emotional depth and roots into the cultural fabric, into our cultural heritage, but it can also be our personal relationships. And this is the kind of knowledge that we get from living life and making mistakes and falling in love and being dumped and being a parent and having a job for which you're not qualified and having, all kinds of problems and successes. So that is a different kind of knowledge. And it's really, really hard to get other people to understand that kind of knowledge once you have it. You can't really just share it with other people. You can talk about it, but that does not mean that they develop that kind of understanding. There's also a moral realm, a sort of higher aspirations. How much are we prepared or capable of taking responsibility for? So the vertical kind of learning, the vertical kind of knowledge is also, it's an axis, and it's also something that can be expanded. It's also a muscle that can be trained, just like the expansion of the horizon. And combining these two kinds of knowledge is how I now have come to describe Bildung. And of course, throughout life, you can expand your horizons, you can add more topics, and you can be better at all of the stuff that you already know. And you can deepen your emotional connection to the world and to other people and to culture and to the knowledge that you have. And you can take responsibility for more things as your understanding of the world increases. And as you mature and, hopefully feel more moral obligations. So this is Bildung, or one way of describing it, but that's Bildung. And now the challenge is that the Bildung that we have and the education that we have, and very often also the moral and emotional development that we have, is, hopefully attuned to and matching the society in which we grew up and where we're living and where we're, having a career as adults and functioning, hopefully, in relationships. And for most of us, I suppose, at least in this Zoom call, the world that we know is the industrialized modern society with a political system that is democratic, with obligations and responsibilities as citizens. And we learned about the society as we grew up, and we were trained for professions that are useful in this kind of society. And one of the challenges that we're facing now, and this is where the future comes in, is that the technological development is turning that society and the power structures upside down, and also the job market and the ways that we can provide for ourselves and the ways that we can engage as citizens. And we could just look at social media, for instance, how that has within the past 10 to 15 years put new challenges on our moral values, on our understanding of how we're being abused by these tech giants and so forth. And now I'm gonna try and share my screen here and go to the presentation that I have for you. And I hope that you can all see this. Irina, can everybody see this now? Good, thank you. So what is the future trying to tell us? I'm just gonna give one example of how the world is changing. You all know what a Volvo is. It is a car. And the company that produces Volvo cars, named Volvo, was founded in 1927, and it was sold in 2010 to a Chinese company named Geely at the very high price of 1.5 billion US. And this was, or still is in many respects, a traditional industrial age company that produces at assembly lines cars, and therefore it has, or had at least in 2010, 23,000 employees. So this is the economy that we know. This is the kind of economy that we have education for. This is the kind of economy that we have macroeconomic models and political institutions and so forth to handle. Enter the digital age, and a company that produced the online game named Minecraft. The same year as Geely was sold for 1.5 billion US, this company was founded, and 4 years later, it was bought by Microsoft at 2.5 billion US with 40 employees. Over the course of those 4 years, they probably had another 40 employees, I don't know, but let's say that less than 100 people produced market value within 4 years so that this company was worth more than the Volvo factories. And so this turns a lot of things upside down in our society, not least the economy, the concept of ownership, what is a product. I mean, here the company has become the product. So you make a startup in order to produce something online, and eventually people, I mean, where you make your money is not on the things that you sell or do online. The way that you make your money is by selling the company. And how do we educate for a world like this? I don't know, but there are some things that we need to understand about the future, which is that the traditional industry jobs are not going to be there. There will be a lot of jobs for programmers. There will be a lot of jobs for communication people. There will be a lot of jobs for designers. There will be a lot of jobs for engineers. But there will also be a lot of jobs that simply cannot be taken over in any meaningful way by computers and robots and artificial intelligence. And in these jobs, I mean, the reason why these jobs cannot be taken over by technology is because that's where we want the human interaction. That's where we want a human relationship. So this will be all the different kinds of caretakers, teachers, nurses, doctors, physiotherapists, all kinds of professions where you want to be able to talk to the person and tell the person how you're feeling and doing. And for education, I mean, this could be a boost for education and teachers, because really, if we could get robots to produce all the stuff that we need, we could have like one teacher per 3 children. I mean, because people have to have jobs, and we could just improve education and healthcare for that matter tremendously. About the Volvo factories, or car factories in general, there are entire factories today where one person can switch on and off the entire factory, and there are no people on the production floor. It's all robots, and it's all artificial intelligence or computers and software. So the future is going to be radically different. And so what kind of people would we like to leave the school system and enter society as young adults? Well, first of all, we would like it to be people who understand society, who understand technological development, and who can engage as conscientious citizens, and who can occupy themselves and go out and create for themselves a meaningful life, who do not need a job in order to find fulfillment in life, but who can absolutely qualify to find one, because I mean, we still do need to pay our bills and put food on the table and raise families and so forth. So I'm going to introduce a model that I've called the Bildung Rose. And this is really a picture of any society, functioning society known to humans. I see that somebody is drawing on my presentation now. I don't know if it's me or somebody else, but it doesn't seem to interfere too much with the message. Thank you. Now it disappeared. So all functioning societies, and we're talking from the earliest hunter-gatherers until the highest and most advanced, technologically advanced societies today, have had production of food and shelter and clothing and stuff. Everybody has had technology. I mean, the technologies that we have today are really just mutated stone axes that have had enough time to evolve. Aesthetics, all civilizations, all societies appreciate beauty, and if we don't have it, we suffer. All societies have some sort of power. In the modern society, it's political power, it's parliaments, it's courts, police, armies, and so forth. We all have scientific knowledge. Not all societies have science in the modern sense, where you have peer-reviewed falsifiable statements in peer-reviewed publications, and where you test stuff, but all societies have knowledge that match the physical surroundings, and where you can survive by using that kind of knowledge. So knowledge that matches the physical reality. And all societies have narrative. All societies have stories that bind people together and tell us what a good person is. So in our narrative is embedded are the moral values of our society. And all societies, at least as soon as we get into larger societies, written culture, have ethics. And the way that I distinguish between ethics and morals is that moral values or morality teaches us how to behave in familiar situations, whereas ethics teaches us or shows us or suggests how to behave in unfamiliar situations. So we need both, and it's really hard to perhaps find what the ethics are in an oral culture, but once we get into at least the civilizations with writing, it is easier to find out. So what are the ethics behind the moral values? And we saw the World Values Survey presented earlier. The survey shows some of the ethics behind self-realization, where countries find themselves with regards to this, and also to traditional and modern values. So ethics and moral values are also part of the picture of the World Values Survey. The reason why I don't call this the societal rows is that in order for us to thrive in the society where we are, we need to understand some of all these 7 domains. And the arrows that point in all directions here and say complexity illustrate that as societies grows in complexity, so do these 7 domains. And it becomes increasingly complex and complicated for all of us to understand everything and actually grasp the reality within which we live. And particularly as technology is pushing the boundaries for the economy, ownership structure, everything, and connecting us globally at the moment. I'm speaking in English now. I know that this is being translated. I hope that I know I speak fast. I hope the translator will forgive me. But we have to be able to function in other languages than the one that we grew up with. That is the way that the world is today. And my hope is that all children will be at least bilingual and trilingual and be able to communicate in a rich and deep and complex language around the globe in a very near future. But if we look at this model of society and the way that we need to understand society, this is my image of what is it that we need to know and understand in the future. We tend to focus a lot right now on technology and production and the sciences that allow us to produce more and to be applying more advanced technologies. And then we tend to not focus so much on the aesthetics. That's like the luxury and the power structures of society. Okay, well, so if you go to high school and to college, then you may take the civics class, but the rest of you, well, you'll just learn when you enter society and get the right to vote. We don't prioritize this, and we may prioritize narrative and history lessons, particularly if you grow up in a religious family, but we're not prioritizing it as societies. And I mean, how many in current school systems have ever had a philosophy class where they've been talking about ethics? I don't know, 3%, 1%? I don't know. So this is like a topic that is more or less ignored by the established school systems, which is a catastrophe when we develop so many new technologies, because we do not have engineers who are trained in thinking about ethics and having discussions about what is good ethics when you develop new technologies. And so if we look at the model from the top to the bottom, the top layer is where we're throwing our money right now at what is physically possible here and now. The middle layer is what might be possible. And here's where we need to have some serious conversations as educators, as citizens, and as people who care about our societies and our children and the future. And then, of course, we need to go to the bottom layer as well and talk about what ought to be. And we're not very good at having that conversation, but we desperately need it. So if we're going to teach for the future, we need to make sure that all children get familiarized with all 7 domains and develop a language for it, a deep, rich, and emotionally based and connected language through aesthetics and through having conversations about narratives and ethics. that allows them to go out into society and connect with all these different aspects of the society that they will be co-creators of one way or the other. So that is what I would say the future is telling us, and we better listen, because we want to be surrounded by conscientious citizens who can take responsibility for a lot. Thank you. I will stop the screen sharing here. Let's see if I can do that. There it is.
Thank you very much. I just would invite people to share their inspiration, and some people share in chat about the elders, the role of elders, that we are gonna be these elders. And I was constantly thinking that I would love to have your presentation on our national TV, because it's so much inspiring. On one hand, really finding the meaning behind being a teacher, and also what kind of human being you could be. What is the role, that it is not only technical role of sharing the knowledge that you have, but the deep purpose behind who you are. And we have in the whole Europe the catastrophe with young people not willing to become teachers. So it's in all the countries there is a huge lack of new young people going to this profession. And on the other hand, we have a lot of consciousness, responsibility, citizenship growing among young people. It's only that the teacher's role is not yet seen as the role for making this, for also realizing this wish. So as people,
Absolutely.
yeah, people.
I noticed with the our Israeli friend about the gifted children. I was very happy that the arts and the aesthetics were mentioned, but I also noticed that the special programs for the most intelligent kids are mainly in the sciences and technology. And I mean, that is really too bad, because we need some, scholars of Shakespeare and Buddhism and African folklore and all this, all the stuff that allows us to be meaning making and understand the world. We can't just leave that up to the people who are not among the, most excellent kids, and the sort of like, if you can't do science, you can always read Shakespeare. No. The other way around. If you don't get Shakespeare, don't get started on science. So I think we need to calibrate our educational systems and reevaluate what is really important. Of course, science is important, but when we get up in the morning, do we get up in order to do math, or do we get up in order to experience beauty and have a nice day? I think most of us get up in the morning in order to experience beauty and having a nice day together with other people and telling stories. So this is really at the core of who we are as human beings, and we're about to losing that and just throwing money at the physical stuff and the technology.
Thank you so much. It was a beautiful last word. I have nothing to add. I just want to wish everyone today to have a really beautiful evening, because we have a snow around and we have a sunset coming, and the sense of beauty, and this community was so positive. The whole day we had a lot of people, and they were supporting each other, supporting speakers, sharing their pains, but still in a very human way, without anger, without criticism. And I deeply feel that that the spring will come and it's coming. So thank you so much, Lene. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mm.